Have you ever looked at a building, a tiny house, or maybe a huge skyscraper and wondered why it's that specific size? Well, it turns out every single one of them follows an invisible rule, a single number that basically decides its fate before anyone even breaks ground. And today, we're going to crack that code.
So let's just imagine for a second. You own a piece of land. It's all yours. Now what? Can you just build a skyscraper that touches the clouds? Or maybe you want a huge, sprawling mansion that covers every single inch of the property. I mean, it's your land, so it should be your choice, right? Well, it's not quite that simple. There are rules. The answer to all of those questions, how high you can go, how wide you can build, basically how much you can build, it all comes down to one single powerful number. For any developer or architect, this number is the master key. It's the first thing they have to know before they can even start sketching out a dream.
So, what is this secret number? It's called FSI, and that's what we're going to unpack today. Honestly, once you understand this, you'll start to understand why our cities look the way they do. You know, why some neighborhoods are full of high-rises and others are all about wide-open spaces.
Okay, so FSI stands for Floor Space Index. In simple terms, it's just the ratio between a building's total floor area and the size of the land it sits on. But here's the most important part. This isn't a number you just figure out on your own. It's a hard limit, a rule, that's handed down by the city's urban planners. It's basically the law for your specific piece of property.
So here's the basic math behind it. You take the total covered area of every single floor in your building, the ground floor, the first floor, all of them. Add it all together, and then you divide that number by the total area of your land. And boom, that gives you the FSI.
Let's make this real with a quick example. Imagine you've got a building with a total floor area of, say, 20,000 square feet, and it's sitting on a plot of land that's 10,000 square feet. You just divide 20,000 by 10,000, and you get an FSI of 2.0. That's it.
Now here's where the real magic happens for a landowner. You can just flip that formula around. You already know how big your plot is, and the government tells you what the allowed FSI is. So you just multiply your plot area by the FSI, and that number right there, that's your total buildable area. That's the maximum amount of space you are legally allowed to construct. Everything starts from that number.
But this is where it gets really interesting. FSI isn't just some rigid rule that kills creativity. It's more like a creative challenge. It tells you how much you can build, but it doesn't tell you how to build it. And that little bit of freedom leads to some wildly different buildings.
So let's go back to our example. We've got a 10,000 square foot plot with an FSI of 2. That means you get 20,000 square feet of total construction area. Okay, so what do? Well, with option A, you could build a 2-story building that covers the entire plot of land. Or look at option B. You could build a 4-story building that only uses half the land. In both cases, the total built area is exactly the same, 20,000 square feet. But one gives you 0 yard space and the other leaves you with a 5,000 square foot open area. Same rule, completely different outcomes. This is that classic grow up versus grow out debate in a nutshell.
Now, just a quick heads up, you might hear another term thrown around, FAR, which stands for Floor Area Ratio. Don't let it confuse you. It is the exact same concept as FSI. The only difference is how it's written. An FSI of 1.75, for example, might be called a FAR of 175%. It's just two ways of saying the very same thing.
Okay, so we get what FSI means for one person and their plot of land. But why does this rule even exist? Let's zoom out and look at the big picture. FSI is actually one of the most powerful tools city planners have to control the growth and feel of an entire city.
So how do these planners come up with the right FSI for a neighborhood? Well, they're looking at a bunch of different things. They're asking, what's the population now and how much is it going to grow? They're analyzing the infrastructure. Can the roads, the power grid, the water pipes actually handle more people? And they also look at their goals for the city, like maybe they want to create a busy commercial hub along a new metro line.
So when a city sets a really low FSI, let's say 0.5, what they're really doing is encouraging the city to grow out, not up. This leads to more horizontal development, think single-family homes, sprawling buildings, and more open space. And the result? A lower population density. This is basically the formula for suburbs.
On the flip side, when planners set a high FSI, maybe 4.0 or even way higher, they're pushing for vertical growth. They're encouraging everyone to build up. This is how you get those dense city centers packed with skyscrapers and tall apartment buildings, fitting way more people and businesses into a much smaller area.
But of course, there's a trade-off. A higher FSI means more people, and more people put way more demand on everything. It puts a huge strain on all the public services. The roads get more clogged, the power grid gets stretched to its limit, and the water systems have to serve thousands more households. You can't just raise the FSI without a serious plan to upgrade all the infrastructure that supports it.
So when you put all these pieces together, you start to see that this one simple number is kind of like an invisible architect, quietly shaping the entire world around us. It's the silent force designing every single neighborhood.
At the end of the day, it really boils down to this. FSI is the invisible rule that dictates whether our cities grow up or out. It's the fundamental choice between a sprawling suburb and a dense vertical downtown, and it's all controlled by that one little number. So the next time you're walking around a city and you look up at the skyline, ask yourself, are you just seeing a bunch of buildings, or are you now seeing the powerful number that decided they could exist in the first place? That choice between up and out is happening all around you if you just know what to look for.